Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for FanSided and ZoneCoverage.com. We do this right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel, and we're also in podcast and podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. On today's show, we are talking Kyler Murray. The Arizona Cardinals have informed Kyler Murray that they will release him ahead of the start of the new league year on March 11th. The move is also barring a trade, which at this point doesn't seem like it's going to happen if that's already floated out there. And the Minnesota Vikings are in the thick of it. So to talk about Kyler Murray, I am joined by Brack of the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Talk everything about Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. How's it going, Bo?
Chris, we've seen some better days, right? I mean, it was kind of the culmination, the end of an era where I think a lot of people were pulling for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals to find success, but it came to an unceremonious end, and the Cardinals absorbing $50+ million in dead cap to just kind of tell the quarterback to go away and try to find footing elsewhere at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I mean, the Cardinals are just a weird thing because it's very divisive around here. Some people want J.J. McCarthy to continue to be the starter. Other people want Geno Smith to take over. But when you talk about Kyler Murray, I had this conversation with a friend. I believe it was during the Thursday night game against Seattle this year where they had the cool Desert Storm uniforms. I just said to my friend, I'm like, I never think about the Cardinals. Like they're just kind of there. They've been in the playoffs once since 2016. The one playoff game they did go to, they lost by 23 points. We think about them when Call of Duty comes out. But I mean, there are other things I keep finding about Kyler Murray, though, as we're digging in here. Like Matthew Collar of Purple Insider noted, he's a 99th percentile chess player. He was very good when he had DeAndre Hopkins in 2021. And we all know about his playmaking ability from his time at Oklahoma. So as a general primer, let's just start here. What should Viking fans know about Kyler Murray?
Man, where to start? Lots to unpack there. I would say what people need to understand about Kyler Murray is you get the good with the bad. Obviously, you get the electrifying plays, but I think you get them far too inconsistently, right? You're going to get one good game, and then you'll probably get two, pedestrian to below average performances. There's a lot of dinking and dunking in his game nowadays. There isn't the deep downfield passing game that we saw during that 2021 run. I don't know where it went. I don't know if it's a matter of the injury that he suffered in 2022 or if it was, maybe he got a little gun shy as far as throwing downfield. We just haven't seen that really anywhere close to where it was at that clip in 21 the last couple seasons. So there's a couple things there, I think, inconsistencies and then the injuries that really kind of torpedoed his ability to remain as franchise quarterback here in the desert. But look, I mean, like I said, without the
people talk about Murray as well, it's just as much on the field as it is off the field. Do you feel like the concerns with Murray are justified in the locker room? And how do you feel about his leadership?
No, I think that those are they're overblown. I think that's a false narrative that surrounds Kyler Murray. I'm not like there are shows out there where people covered teams from the peripheral. I mean, I was in the locker room. I was covering this team on a day-to-day basis. I was talking to his teammates. He's pretty well liked by his teammates. There's a couple people here and there that exit the organization that have their qualms with him. They didn't feel like he set them up for success. But I mean, you're going to find that in any, sports league or anywhere where you've got a bunch of egos around. I think Kyler Murray, there was a little truth to some of the news that was, or rumors that were kind of floating around. But from what I saw, especially the last 3 years, there was a big jump as far as maturity. The competitiveness was always there. And I think that, you did see maybe a decline as far as the skill set, but nothing that matches what is out there from, a national standpoint, which is, I think is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, and it just ended very strangely in Arizona. I think that's what's giving some people pause as well. Because
7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 7 years. This isn't like a sample size. This is, I mean, they invested the number 1 overall pick. They invested one of those big quarterback contracts into it. And it was just year after year. Hey, are we going to be able to tap into this potential? Are we going to be able to find those consistent performances? And 2025 was just an absolute disaster across the board for the Cardinals. And they saw it like, look, it's not going to work here in the desert. Might work elsewhere, but we've got it for Kyler's sake, our sake, got to move on.
Why do you think the Cardinals came to that conclusion?
I mean, I think they knew what Kyler was and what he wasn't. And, they were going to take this gigantic leap of faith. I think you saw that with a division rival in the Seahawks. I know this is probably not great to hear as far as Vikings fans, but they did that with Sam Darnold moving off of Geno Smith, who had, won 10 games, had been, the comeback player of the year, had 30 touchdown performance. Geno Smith was somebody that they at least felt comfortable with, knew what he was, but they wanted to kind of aim higher. And I think the Arizona Cardinals, despite not having really any options, like legitimate options as far as the quarterback market this offseason, I think it was just time to move on, and especially with how the contract was structured. That's why it became a release scenario versus a trade scenario, is because of that 2027 guarantee that kicked in. Because if you don't do it now, then you're just going to the same situation next year. And the Cardinals had gone through that song and dance.
What do you think as far as his future goes? Because you mentioned it. If they didn't have concerns, they probably would have released him. Like, what would be your biggest concerns about Murray moving forward as he goes into the next chapter of his career?
That you kind of got into, like, is there more here? I think when you look at his 2024 season, I think that's a lot of who Kyler Murray is now. If you look at the numbers, like, they're fine, right? 21 passing touchdowns, somewhere around 11 picks, 12 picks, I think that season, 5 to 6 rushing touchdowns. Those are good numbers. But as we've seen in the game today, you need a lot of production from the quarterback position. I think he's kind of reached the point where he is a game manager. With every 2 to 3 to 4 performances, you can get an electric performance where, he's going to approach, a perfect passer rating, and he's going to be able to get it going with, his dual threat, gifts. But for the most part, you don't see that stacked on top of each other like you did that 7-week run in 2021. Sort of like for people to kind of sit and say, well, this might be there. The return of the downfield passing might return. It's like, I don't even think he wants to play that type of a game. And that's why it's a curious fit as far as Minnesota. I don't disagree with Minnesota going after Kyler. I think he is maybe the best quarterback option out there. But I was talking to John Middlecoff, who does a 3 and Out podcast. He's a very knowledgeable football mind. And this was last week. And when we had mentioned, Kyler's camp wants to be in Minnesota, he scoffed at the idea. He's like, oh, Kyler Murray's of pocket passing downfield game with Kevin O'Connell. He didn't think it was a fit at all. So be curious to see if the Vikings, if with the McCarthy situation, if I don't know if desperate's the right word, but like are willing to kind of kick the tires on somebody that doesn't exactly fit what they like to do.
I mean, you mentioned Kevin O'Connell a little bit, and I mean, people kind of talk about the totality of the situation where O'Connell's an elite play caller. You have Justin Jefferson there, and a lot of people do look at Hopkins. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what do you think went right in that 2021 season for Murray?
I mean, he was at the peak of his abilities. He hadn't sustained any kind of serious injuries. He had DeAndre Hopkins, who was playing at a high level at that time, where it's just like Hopkins is down there somewhere type mentality. Cliff, I don't think the league had caught up on Cliff Kingsbury's play calling at that point. Cliff has shown that he doesn't really have the ability to make the adjustments to consistently put out, top offenses in the league. That's not like a huge indictment. I mean, he's still a good play caller. But like, I think they just caught lightning in a bottle as a collective. And then like things kind of slowly deteriorated, but like Kyler's built himself back up to, I think, be a quarterback that is firmly in the top 20, can approach the top 12, and is probably somewhere in between like 12 and 16. But it's just like getting back to the KOC thing. Like, I think he would probably look like a Carson Wentz bumped up a little bit.
Now, I'll ask you one more question here because it's kind of curious, and we were talking about this on the show the other day. Malik Willis is a guy that's out there. He's heavily linked to the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the Cardinals, with their interest, see him as an upgrade between the two quarterbacks. What do you see in Malik Willis that would indicate maybe he'd be an upgrade. And do you think that the Vikings would make a mistake by going after Murray compared to a guy like Willis?
Right. I mean, can you guys afford Willis at the numbers that are being kind of rumored surrounding him? I mean, the thing about Kyler that's really made him appealing is he's just going to earn over $1 million to what the Cardinals are going to give him. I don't think it's like the Cardinals prefer Willis over Murray. It's like they've moved on from Murray, and now they're looking for any viable options or options that have some upside that could put them in a position to kind of narrow the gap within the division and build on something coming off a disastrous 2025 season. I think Willis is really one of the few options that provides that. Like, you've seen the very sample size that he had in Green Bay, just 6 starts in his career, but you've seen some efficiencies. You've seen the strong arm and the ability to be accurate downfield. And like the dual threat nature of it, it's very similar to Kyler. And he's going to be 26 years old coming off his rookie contract. I think they're just they're looking at that with, if the option is to sign him where it's kind of the deal is structured towards it's 26 and then very little, beyond that. I think they would sign up for that, but we'll see. I mean, they've got to have that kind of not perfect storm, but that thing materialize for Willis to work here in the desert with Michael Floor, whose brother Coach Willis in Green Bay, as you guys know.
Gut feeling, what do you think are the chances Kyler Murray winds up a Viking?
I would say it's like 60-65%. Like, I think Kyler wants to be there. I think that's where he sees KOC, the modern day quarterback whisperer, and of course the weapons with Justin Jefferson and Hockenson and of course Addison. I'm sure they'll add to the run game. I think Kyler sees that. He was a fan of the team growing up. Like that's where I feel like he probably was like, this is the best landing spot with the opportunity to start, where he doesn't have to go take on, a Jets team that's just not playing for anything this next season. And, Pittsburgh, where you got to deal with the elements more often. So I think that's where he wants to be. Now it's just going to come down to, does Minnesota, do they want to do that? Do they want to kind of go outside the box as far as how they run offense to bring in Kyler Murray to do whatever they need to do as far as the future of the quarterback position?
So, Bo, you're with the PHNX podcast. Where can people check out your work, and where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me, Bo Brack, on Twitter. Just talking about the Cardinals, breaking news, breaking it down, what happens around this team. And then PHNX_sports on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast, PHNX Cardinals.
Hey, Bo, thank you for coming on. Of course, this is the Viking Age podcast. I got to shout it out because it's the official podcast of thevikingage.com. You can go to thevikingage.com, keep up with all the craziness that is going down this offseason. We're talking Jonathan Grenard trade rumors. We're talking Kyler Murray rumors, maybe even some Aaron Rodgers stuff if you're into that. All of that is going on at thevikingage.com right now. But, Bo, thank you. And, of course, you fans out there, however you consume us, like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. I am Chris Schad at The Real Chris Schad for Bo Brack. This has been the Viking Age Podcast.
Randy Moss. Oh, my goodness.